Free speech protections of the First Amendment are so complicated, it's no surprise that most Americans seem to misunderstand them. Free speech is anything but absolute. In fact, it only prevents the government from intruding on speech. The First Amendment gives a person no right whatsoever to say whatever they want on a private company's platform. Of course, all speech is subject to some regulation, whether or not it's on a private forum. You can't threaten people, you can't slander people, there are some limitations. But as much as social media companies like Facebook or Twitter feel like publicly available forums for anybody, they are anything but. These social media companies are privately owned. They're not owned by the government. So the First Amendment doesn't even apply to them. For example, a private bar or restaurant can kick out just about anybody for any reason, whether they're not wearing a shirt or they're too intoxicated. Now, the reason bars kick out drunk people is that drunk people are a liability for the bar. But social media companies don't even have that liability. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act says that they are not liable for what other people post on their forum. It would be like a bar that made a lot of money from drunk patrons buying drinks, but then had zero liability when those drunks turned around and attacked other innocent people. There is a developing philosophical debate that a social media company or an internet service provider may become so important to speech that they are a kind of public forum. In the future, there may be legislation saying that Facebook or Twitter or whatever comes after those things is a kind of public forum, and it may even be regulated by the government. Perhaps Section 230 will be replaced by laws that allow for liability for internet service providers or social media companies for what is said on their forum. First Amendment law is constantly evolving because the way we speak is constantly evolving, and the forum in which we speak evolves as well. It may seem unfair that a web hosting service would summarily dump a company's website because they don't like the company's speech. Whether it's Twitter permanently suspending President Trump or Simon & Schuster declining to do business with Josh Hawley, companies can't be forced by the government to put out speech that they don't want to put out there. In fact, even if a person is completely denied access to speaking on the internet, nothing prevents that person from opening their window and shouting out onto a crowded street. Ultimately, the First Amendment only limits government action. It gives a private person no right to say whatever they want in a private forum.
Good day, everyone. My name is Jennifer Wales. In this presentation, I will discuss the ethical challenges of censorship and freedom of speech on social media platforms. Social media has transformed how we communicate and engage in public discourse. However, it has also introduced significant ethical dilemmas. Social media companies must strike a balance between upholding free expression and preventing harmful content, such as hate speech, misinformation, and harassment. This balancing act is central to ongoing debates among policymakers, tech leaders, and the general public. Social media platforms have become major news sources and influential players in shaping public opinion and political processes. Their content moderation policies set global standards for digital communication and impact free speech worldwide. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube grapple with content moderation daily, often under public and governmental scrutiny. These controversies highlight the struggle to balance free expression and the mitigation of harmful content. The ethical issue here significantly affects the quality of life. Unrestricted speech can spread harmful content, threatening public safety and mental health. Conversely, excessive censorship can suppress free expression and stifle important social movements. Balancing these aspects is crucial for protecting individual rights and societal well-being. Defining acceptable speech is challenging, as perceptions of harmful content vary across cultures. Additionally, using algorithms for moderation introduces biases and transparency issues, raising questions about fairness and platform integrity. Researchers have explored various dimensions of platform governance, content moderation, and human rights implications. For instance, Bruns 2019 highlights the API collapse, where platforms restrict data access to researchers, complicating transparency and accountability. Gora 2019 discusses the multi-stakeholder nature of platform governance, involving users, governments, and civil society organizations, but practical examples of effective governance are scarce. Roberts 2019 emphasizes the ethical concerns surrounding the labor conditions of content moderators, who often work in precarious conditions and are exposed to disturbing content. Griffin 2023 and Klonick 2018 advocate for a human rights-based approach to social media governance, stressing the need for transparency and accountability, yet more concrete policy recommendations are needed. Hellberger et al. 2018 proposed designing algorithms to promote exposure diversity, aiming to counteract echo chambers and foster balanced public discourse. However, practical implementation challenges remain unaddressed. Susser et al. 2019 explored the manipulative potential of technology, highlighting ethical concerns around platforms subtly influencing user behavior, though their analysis is largely theoretical and calls for more empirical research. Jorgensen et al. 2019 and Zuboff 2019 discussed the societal impacts of content moderation, emphasizing the need to balance harmful content regulation with free expression. Zuboff's concept of surveillance capitalism raises concerns about personal freedom and democratic values, urging stronger regulatory frameworks, though detailed implementation pathways are lacking. Based on these findings, several steps can improve content moderation practices and governance on social media platforms. Number 1, enhancing transparency is important. Platforms should provide greater data access for independent researchers to better understand and address the impact of content moderation policies. Clear, transparent decision-making processes can also increase accountability. Bruns 2019, Klonick 2018. Number 2, fostering multi-stakeholder governance is needed. Social media companies should involve users, governments, and civil society organizations in developing and implementing content moderation policies. This collaborative approach can ensure that diverse perspectives are considered and policies are more balanced and effective. Gora 2019. Number 3, improving working conditions for content moderators is key. Companies should provide adequate mental health support and ensure fair labor practices for moderators. Additionally, investing in algorithms that promote exposure diversity can mitigate echo chambers and enhance public discourse. Roberts 2019, Hellberger et al. 2018. And finally, there needs to be an implementation of robust regulatory frameworks. Policymakers should develop regulations that protect users' rights and prevent manipulative practices. Safeguards against surveillance capitalism are necessary to respect individual autonomy and democratic values. Zuboff, 2019. Upon reflecting on the literature, it is clear that the ethical implications of censorship and freedom of speech on social media platforms are complex and far-reaching. The hidden work behind content moderation and its significant impact on moderators' well-being is striking. Platforms have an ethical responsibility to protect both their users and employees, demanding urgent attention. The concept of surveillance capitalism, as discussed by Zuboff 2019, is both alarming and thought-provoking. The extent to which platforms can influence behavior and undermine autonomy underscores the need for robust regulatory interventions. A human rights-based approach to governance is essential, emphasizing the protection of fundamental rights in this digital age. In conclusion, the ethical challenges of censorship and freedom of speech on social media platforms are multidimensional and require coordinated efforts from various stakeholders. The literature provides critical insights into platform governance, the ethical treatment of content moderators, and the broader societal impacts of content moderation. However, it also highlights significant gaps, particularly in practical recommendations and empirical research. Addressing these challenges necessitates increased transparency, collaborative governance, ethical labor practices, and regulatory frameworks. By implementing these recommendations, social media platforms can better navigate the delicate balance between regulating harmful content and protecting freedom of speech, ultimately encouraging a healthier and more democratic public discourse. Thank you for your attention to this ethical issue.